TDS and Asmund during. Oh, okay, I remember now. I used to think. Okay. Have you guys ever heard that like back in the day there was like there was a thing that happened where a bunch of people like danced to their death. You guys hear about that? Like a person started dancing and it caused everybody to start dancing. It was mass hysteria. The dancing plague of 1518. Okay. The dancing plague of 1518, the dance epidemic, was a case of dancing mania that occurred in Alsace, in the Holy Roman Empire. Between 50 to 400 people took to dancing for weeks, and there are many theories behind the phenomenon. The most popular is stress-induced mass hysteria, and other things are gut poisoning, right? So I used to think that there's no way this could have been real. Like, how does this happen? Like, how do people have a stress-induced mass hysteria to the point that they all partake in some retarded behavior that is so obviously retarded, but then they all do it to the point that they die, that people die, right? Like, how is that even possible, right? I used to not believe this. I used to think there's no way this was real. I kind of changed my mind. I can definitely see this being a real thing now. People could be induced to stress, like, so, dude, oh my God, I was just thinking about it, guys. What if it's all related? Hold on. Oh my God, guys. What if it's all related like this? Okay, so the internet, right? So the internet, when the internet began, well, more recent, let's just say like more social media is actually the one. It's actually social media, not internet. When social media became a thing, all of a sudden, all of humanity was exposed to kind of a stream of thoughts, right? So before, like, you kind of know about like your friends, like what your friends think. And then, maybe like there's like a newspaper article about something and, you're exposed to like maybe to like one or two people's thoughts, right? But ever since social media started to exist, you started to be exposed to the, what's the word? Extremes, right? The extremes of mankind, right? Because before, the extremes were kind of rare, right? Like it was rare. It'd be like the crazy person in your town, right? But now there's so many people. All of the crazy people of the town are all on these platforms, and are all, and of course their takes are the craziest, so people are gonna like them the most, right? So you have this case of not only that, but people being exposed to like other people's lives. So you have, like, for instance, you have the Giga Chad dude, right? With like all the girls want him, right? He makes $1 million a month. He drives the best cars, he's got the best computers. You have that guy posting about his life. You have that girl posting about her life. She's super fucking hot. She gets everything that she wants. All the guys want her. She has all the bags, all the rings, all the jewelry, everything that she could possibly want, right? And you have these people on there, right? And if you can imagine, like, if you fucking suck, like your life sucks, you're ugly, you're poor, you have fucking nothing, nobody likes you, and you're in this situation, right? And then you are exposed to like the people who are experiencing the pinnacle of like what you would call pinnacle of desired reality, right? How could that not make you stressed? So if this thing could be caused by stress-induced mass hysteria, couldn't this stress be created from those feelings of envy, right? Couldn't envy cause this, where you think that your life sucks because you don't have what literally, the top 0.000000001% of people in this world have. And you're exposed to that thinking that that's normal. And then you have a bunch of people who are close to that trying to spend money to emulate having that kind of situation. And now it's amplified because now there's more people that have that sort of lifestyle, and that's all you see online, right? Oh man, look at that fucking really nice house. Oh wow, she's so hot. And you have both men and women exposed to this, thinking that that they're fucking awful and they're subpar because of this. And then that creates that creates the stress, which creates the mass hysteria. Big Goose 3, thank you so much for the gift subs. Thank you so much. You're trusting. Wait, hold on. Zargblock says you're trusting a Wikipedia. What do you mean? What are you talking about? You're trusting a Wikipedia article. All I'm talking about is that this is a theory of how this thing was created, and I'm explaining how this theory could apply in the real world. How does that have anything to do with me trusting Wikipedia? Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? What? And Big Goose, thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the gift subs. Thank you. You're still learning towards ergot? I'll say I'm still leaning towards ergot. Okay, so what? Okay, if that's the case, right? And you know, it's possible that in this case, that ergot, the ergotism, the fungi could be it. But we're not really talking about this specific case. We're talking about stress-induced mass hysteria being applied to now, right? Like you have, again, I was talking about, I was just using this as a historical, like, basically the whole reason I brought up this historical case was to talk about this happening, but I wasn't even really talking about this. I'm more talking about the modern, I was more pointing to an example, like a theory of like a case that theoretically happened years ago. That's all the only reason I'm bringing this up. I'm talking about it like, yeah, to drive a point, what Leafar says. I'm talking about modern day, right? So, because, again, we were talking about things like Trump derangement syndrome. We're talking about this AI derangement syndrome. We're talking about like, you know, Asmongold derangement syndrome, right? Is it that people in general are more stressed than before? And then the stress is inducing the mass hysteria? Now, like modern day. I'm talking about modern day. And is that stress created because of social media? Because this all started like once social media became like, when did X come out? It would have even been before X, right? It would have been like Facebook. When did Facebook? No, it's got to be X. When did Twitter? Because Facebook and X were still kind of segmented off to like people that you knew in real life, kind of. X was not, though. 2006. So when did it take off? All right, here we can say right here, 2013. Dude, that tracks. That actually the timeline tracks so well. So 2013 is when Twitter went public with an IPO. So that'd be when they reached like I assume they reached a user base level that they would believe that that it would be fine to IPO. So it would be 2013 is when they went public. Renzetsu says social media is a part of the problem, but nobody said you had to be on social media. Okay, so that's like saying nobody said that you had to go downtown, right? So in order to socialize for a lot of people, they meet in place, right? People previously, they meet in place. They go to places like where they can meet people. Most people, like, you know, humanity is a social species. So people tend to seek social situations, right? And that became where everybody was on X, right? So even if you say that like not everyone has to join X, you kind of do to have to engage, right? With, you know, because your friends are going to be on there, right? I don't think it can be traced back to a singular source. I've learned that looking up similar cases, the truth is always more complicated than most people want to admit. Well, I mean, I don't know what the truth I'm theorizing right now, right? Like, I don't know. I don't actually know. Being a loner is also an option. Yeah, but for most people, it's not. Right? Some, like for some of us, like, you know, we're kind of different. Like, let's be real. Like, we're online anime game playing nerds, like for the most part, right? You know, that's not everybody here, but a lot of us are right here on this stream. So we're not exactly, let's just say, typical, right? Most people aren't introverts. Yeah, exactly what Brick Muppet is saying, right? Social media is the amplification of a social hub. Yes, exactly. It is a global social hub, right? Whereas the social hub before was smaller. Right? Even if you take Facebook into example, right? Facebook was still people you knew in real life, right? For the most part. And like maybe like if you're an online nerd, you had some friends on there that you didn't know in real life. But for the most part, normies that were on Facebook, it was people that they knew in real life, right? Whereas nowadays with X, that's not the case. Do you see the point I'm making? That X is a is a shift. It's a shift in the social nature of humanity. Heron Blade says that social media has amplified that which has always been local. Yeah. So what happened now is that you have the most wild shit rising to the top. Does that make sense? Because previously, like, something that the crazy person said would only be known to like a small amount of people, right? Like, oh, that's like my crazy Uncle Bob. You know, he's fucking crazy. Like, whatever, just ignore him, right? But now, Uncle Bob, everybody can hear what Uncle Bob says, right? So like naturally, the craziest shit would rise to the top, right? Because of how algorithms work, right? Like the craziest things are the craziest things are the most interesting. Am I wrong, chat? Crazy shit is more interesting than basic takes, right? Put it this way, guys. Like, if I had like much more crazy takes, like, dude, you know for a fact people would talk about me more, right? It's just the case. Like, people would talk about, like, you always hear people talking about streamers have like really crazy takes, right? Hence outrage culture, says LTC. Yeah, exactly. Outrage culture, right? So since that's the case, those would get amplified more, right? And then people would then be more emboldened to say the same thing for the positive feedback loop, right? The dopamine, correct? The reward function of the brain. If you say a crazy thing, you're rewarded with more views. So then you would say crazy things more, and then other people would see you saying crazy things, and they'd want to say that more as well for the dopamine. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Is that like the source of all of this? Is social media has created a level of stress, feelings of worthlessness, feelings of not measuring up, because now the pool that you're measuring, like, let me put it this way, guys. Put it this way, right? So let me like just draw it out. Let me draw out what I'm saying. This is maybe it'll help to illustrate what I mean. Okay. So say like this was your reality, right? Before. And you had like, you know, like here's a group, like this is like, let's say that this is like friends, right? Friend. And they have like city. And then like, I don't know, maybe like church or I don't know, like maybe school. Let's just say school. Okay. And you have all of these people in here, right? Say like in your friends, you're number one at Uma Musume, right? You're number one, like you are number one. You're the best Uma Musume player, right? In your city, like you're maybe like 6 or something, right? And then like in your school, like I don't know, you're number 2, right? And so like you would feel like, oh, I'm doing you know, actually this is a little idealistic. Let's just say like in your friend group you're number 3. And then in your city you're like number, I don't know, like 30. And then say like in your school you're like 13. Number 13, right? And then like you're kind of like looking at this, right? And then now this would be how you would feel about yourself, right? So in your friend group, oh, I'm not doing too bad. I'm like number 3 in my friend group, number 30 in my city, number 13 in my school, right? But this is what it is now. And you are number... Do you see what I mean? Do you see the point? The point I'm making is that like in the world now, you are shit. You are no longer a big fish in a small pond, exactly. And the thing is like we all had these kind of wins, right? We all kind of had these sort of wins, and you weren't exposed to like literally like the number one, like the right. It would be like if there were no locals. Right, there were no, like, say like you're playing a game, there are no locals, there's nothing like that. So like you always lose by a lot, right? The entire world, like basically, and again, you take into these factors, right? Skill, job proficiency, attractiveness, money, you know, girlfriend slash boyfriend. You take all of this, right? And it is amplified to the craziest degree because the stage is the world. Do you understand what I'm saying? So like a guy who might be like pretty well off in his town, if you compare him to the most well off person in the entire world, their idea of what they have is not as good. So you have situations like that, right? That are creating this stress, which then leads to this mass hysteria. And this is probably why the forest dweller people are less affected by this. Like the antisocial people, because we don't give a fuck anyway, right? So it's like we never gave a fuck about that. So we're less affected by it. But the normies are super affected by it. Do you see what I mean? We've always been on the fucking internet. We've always been playing fucking games on the internet because we don't want to take part in that. Like sort of, we were already exiled from society in the first place. So all the people that would have been normies that were not segmented off by the internet, they became segmented off by the internet. And then you have fucking COVID hitting, everyone being stuck inside, being permanently online when those people should have been outside, hanging out with their friends at the shopping center or whatever. Now they're exposed to it too. Shai says, we already knew we didn't fit in. So when we suddenly didn't fit in more, it didn't affect us. But normies took critical damage. Exactly my point. Dude, I think I'm onto something. What do you think, chat? I think this is actually real. I think my theory is yeah, that's crazy. We have magic resistance? Exactly, we do.